Hello, friends. I wanted to come up here and talk about winter solstice. Happy winter solstice to you all. It is, as I'm recording this video, it is December 21st around 5:30 p.m. in Southern California. And in a couple of hours, the sun is going to hit its southernmost point in our sky, right? So all the planets move from west to east from our vantage point when we are standing on Earth and looking back at the sky. But they also move, they do this wave movement where they move north and south. And our sun is especially when it does that wave movement, it moves north or whether it moves south, with respect to our position on the planet. It also is pretty significant because that rays of the sun, that incline of the rays of the sun, creates various seasons for us. Of course, we know that the sun does not move around us, we move around the sun, right? So let me share my screen to tell you what I'm talking about. So as you can see, we are right here, December 21st, where because of the incline of the Earth and how far it is in its revolution around the sun, we have winter solstice. So if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, which I'm in Southern California, so I'm right up here, from my vantage point, the sun is at its southernmost tip, and we have the longest night. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, if you're in, let's say, if you're in Australia, it's the longest day for you today, right? So after today, the sun starts to move northwards in our sky. So that wave motion, it's at the southernmost tip, and now it's going to start moving northwards. And this is really significant, especially in the spiritual communities of India. It's called Uttarayana. Uttarayana. Ayana means solstice, and Uttar means north. So the sun starts to move towards it's on its northern course, it's on its northern journey. It moves from the southernmost tip, which is here in the tropical zodiac labeled as Tropic of Cancer. That's the 33 degrees south latitude. And it's going to make its journey in till summer solstice, and summer solstice happens on usually around June 20th or June 21st. It's going to make that journey around and in our sky and hit Tropic of Cancer, right? That's 33 degrees north. And we are going to have the longest day in June. So why is winter solstice that important, or Uttarayana, that the moment after which the sun hits the southern point and then starts moving northwards, is actually really important in spiritual communities, because it's the time when life starts to blossom again in the Northern Hemisphere. So from June, from summer solstice to December, which is winter solstice, it's a time to go inwards as the days become shorter and shorter and shorter. And in spiritual communities, people withdraw from external stimulation. They, in fact, sit down and meditate and start various sadhanas or various spiritual practices throughout the southern course of the sun through our sky. As the sun goes southwards, we are going inwards and withdrawing our energies. And then as the sun moves northwards, we are encouraged to move our energies outwards and then engage more in life. And you will see that. You will see flowers blossoming, bees chirping, all kinds of birds and animals having their coming out of their hibernation cycle and getting into that reproductive cycle, right? And that's true for human beings too. It is so significant that in Mahabharata, which is an Indian itihas or Indian history, the tale of Mahabharata, Bhishma Pitama, or Bhishma is one of the characters. He was the eldest in the family. And on the battlefield in Mahabharata, the tale goes, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when he was shot, he had the boon of Ichha Mrityu, meaning he had the boon of choosing the time of his birth. And this war happens around this time. It happens in the fall months on the northern Indian soil. And what he does is he lays on a bed of arrows. He's defeated. He cannot fight anymore, but he waits for Uttarayana, meaning when the sun changes course and moves northwards, to actually choose the time of his death. And he leaves his body, his wounded body, and I think he's on, I don't remember the exact days, but I think it was 68 days. He lay on a bed of arrows for that much time and waited for the sun to turn northwards, waited for winter solstice to hit and the days to start becoming longer for him to leave his body. It's that significant. It's actually a really significant time for folks residing in the Northern Hemisphere, because all the activities you initiate around this time of the year, right after winter solstice, has the potential to blossom into something big, right? And if that seed that you're trying to sow is that of spirituality, it will blossom. So it's a time to take up new activities and new tasks, and celebrate the return of light, the return of sun. And various pagan cultures do that. They celebrate the return of light around this time of the year. Really, they're celebrating winter solstice. In India, people only register winter solstice or Uttarayana on Makar Sankranti. Makar Sankranti is when the sun ingresses in the sign of Capricorn. Makar is Capricorn, and that only happens mid-January. And there is a dissociation with that. Makar Sankranti is a festival that needs to be celebrated because sun enters a sign of Capricorn, and it has its other significance because of sun's relationship with Saturn, his own child or son. But what they were really trying to emphasize was winter solstice, the time when the sun hits its nadir, or the lowest point in our sky, the southernmost point in our sky, and then starts to move northwards, right? And the disconnect is because popular culture has not been accounting for precession of equinoxes. And what I mean by that is that the earth, its axis is tilted. And when Makar Sankranti was calculated, and winter solstice would align on Makar Sankranti, winter solstice would align with sun's ingress into Capricorn, and it would align it, and it happened around 2000 years ago. But a lot happened in history in the last 2000 years. There were wars, the Greek library of Alexandria was burned, and a lot of knowledge was lost. So the knowledge of precession of equinoxes, which is, if you see the Earth's axis here is tilted. So the Earth revolves around the sun on a tilted axis, which we see in the previous image. So this is the tilted axis, and it revolves around the sun on that tilted axis. But it also does one more thing. It wobbles on its axis. So the axis is this way, and it wobbles slightly on its axis, like a top wobbles around its axis. I don't know if people here, growing up in India, we used to have this top on a string. We would tie a string around the top, and then we would spin the top, and the top would rotate on a point, right? But it would wobble. It would rotate like it's wobbling on a pointed center of gravity, which is what Earth is doing. It's wobbling around this axis. It's making the axis itself is making a full rotation, right? And this is what happens because this changes very, very slowly, about 1 degree every 70 years. So this whole rotation takes about 26,000 years. This changes very, very slowly over a large period of time, so that our perspective, our sky shifts a little bit. The constellations that are actually pinning down the zodiac remains the same, but our view of it slightly changes. So our zodiac slightly changes. Right now, the solstice happens on the axis of Sagittarius, and directly opposite Sagittarius is Gemini. So the solstice happens in Gemini Sagittarius axis. But around 2000 years ago, when this was pinned to Sun's ingress in Capricorn, the solstice was happening on the axis of Cancer and Capricorn. That's why we have the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. This is a little bit more astronomical than you're used to, but it's also a time to actually really think of how we are celebrating our festivals. If you're celebrating Makar Sankranti and Pongal and Baisakhi as a harvest festival, which is what people do, that's totally fine. But if you're actually celebrating these festivals as with their spiritual significance, the significance comes from the solstice, the sun hitting its southernmost point and then moving northwards, Uttarayana, right? Happy Uttarayana and happy winter solstice. May you have a fruitful spring and summer. And let me know in the comments below what you plan to do in the next 6 months and how do you plan to expand your life and sow the seeds of new. Bye for now.